Hi, everyone. Welcome to the market update. My name is Vinnie. Over here, we have a special guest. We got Fred. He's going to give us some insight into tax season. He's a CPA. Well, Fred, how would you describe yourself?
Well, let me just tell you, CPA is like saying, can I have a Kleenex? I got to blow my nose. It's really a tissue, but most people don't know the difference anyway
Oh,
between a Kleenex and a tissue. There's 600,000 CPAs in town. 80% of them go into accounting. 20% do what I do. I'm an enrolled agent. It's a
okay.
federal license to do taxes given to us by the lovely Internal Revenue Service.
Hmm.
Uh, So it's a little bit more specialized on the tax side. And there's only about 50,000 EAs in the country, and there's 10 times or 20 times more than that in CPAs. That's why it's not as well understood. So there you
Make,
that's what an enrolled agent is.
it kind of makes sense. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
federal license to do tax.
there we go.
And
All
we
right.
speak
Now,
tax is what it is. Yeah.
we're gonna get into some nuggets, but before we get into some nuggets, and Fred's gonna blow us away. Want to bring up what happened last week. So the question was, how much did the least expensive detached property sell in Julian so far this year? Uh, Fred, you have any guesses?
The least expensive detached
Detached,
property, 300K.
92,000. 92,500. Yeah, Julian, they have some good apple pie over there, but the properties can be a little bit more affordable out there. Now I'm gonna go the opposite direction. Okay, Fred. How much did the least expensive detached property sell in Ranch Santa Fe so far this year? It's gonna be a little bit more expensive than
Yeah.
Julian.
Least expensive, 1.5.
All right. Well, if you feel free to text below for your chance to win $50. Text me. Fred's information is below too, and you'll get the answer on Friday. All right, guys. All right. So thank you again, Fred, for being here. So, what are some insights, some new laws, new rules that have kind of come about that could really help our listeners?
Well, some of the brand new for California is everyone heard about, the limitation on state and local income taxes, which was capped at 10,000 several years ago. California said, let's do something about that because it's a high tax state. So for those of you that have businesses or S corporations or LLCs, you can now make a tax payment through your entity, get a state tax or make it to the state of California, get a state tax deduction, and you get a credit on your personal taxes. This is something brand new, and you can do it up till March 15th of 22 for the deduction on your 21 taxes.
Oh
So it's a
wow.
pretty neat little gimme that California is doing for our those that are self-employed or that have their own businesses or companies or even realtors that have, or as long as you're doing a decent amount of real estate, you should have an S corp. So that works for pretty much the independent contractors as well. Um, and if you don't have an entity, please call us. We'll get you one.
What I mean, if someone already has, I mean, how difficult is it to transition over from one accountant to another accountant? Is it pretty hefty?
It's pretty easy. I mean, we usually ask for the tax, the prior tax year. We try to get all the picture of what's going on. If it's a large business and there's a lot of equipment and depreciation, that's usually the hardest part of it is getting all the carryovers. And we specialize in we scrutinize that tax return so there's nothing mixed or missed, I should say, because the biggest and the most common uh, things that happen when you switch accountants is some benefit that you've had from a prior year is not carried forward to the new accountant or the new year. Somebody missed something.
Okay.
So it's very important to go through that and comb through because there's always, capital losses carrying forward from the stock market or some tax credit, whether it's a solar credit or something that's, whether it's passive losses from rental real estate. There's a lot of carryovers there that continue on. So you want to make sure all of those attributes, as we call them, come through when you change accountants. It's very, very important. And that's why sometimes people say, why is it, so expensive when you switch CPAs or accountants? Because that first year, there's a lot to bring forward, almost like there's a startup fee, almost, because especially if you have a bunch of property, there's all that depreciation, there's carryovers, so usually that's the most difficult year. Once you get everything in line and you have everything going forward, it's a lot more straightforward.
Talking about depreciation, I mean, I think the idea for investment properties, right? There's a certain window that you can depreciate it and things like that. Can you kind of walk, I guess, some of our listeners right now that own investment properties, what's the time period for depreciation on investment properties?
Well, normally investment properties, if it's residential, it's 27 and a half years. If it's commercial, it's 39. But there are ways to accelerate, your heating and air components, or some of your energy systems. You can pull some of those pieces out of the structure of the property and accelerate those much faster, whether you use a cost segregation analysis, which is basically breaking up that house or property into its components. So basically so that first year you can, slam the depreciation on your taxes and get some big tax benefits.
So, I mean, for people listening right now, it's something to really probably think into. If you currently have investment properties, you might want to see how much your accountant is like Fred's saying, is slamming that depreciation. I mean, do you still have the same level of depreciation? I mean, 15 years, 20 years into ownership that you would have had when you first started. So maybe it's time to transition 1031 or something along those lines so you can get that depreciation back. Yeah. So something else I wanted to bring up. So we're going back to that original question. How much does the least expensive detached property sell for? Now, this is giving you some strict numbers, right? To give you a little hint, this is what's happened over the last year compared to this year. So we're talking about the median sales price in Rancho Santa Fe is 4.4. So hopefully that will give you a little insight, right? A little guesstimation into that market. And as you can see, list of sold is under 100. Usually, when you're in the millions right now, they are going a tad bit under, and that definitely differs, as you can see from in the downtown market. That market is barely at 100, which if you've been watching us for a while, it's been under 100 for a good amount of time. So that's something really changed right now. The downtown market is slowly heating up. We're almost at our 10-minute mark, Fred. Any kind of words of wisdom, last thoughts that you want to kind of give out to anyone listening right now?
Just if you have some major sale that happened or is going to happen for properties, please talk to your accountants so that there are things you can do, whether it's 1031, there's also other items you can do before it's too late. After the fact, it's much harder to figure it out, but it's not you're not dead. But
what's the ideal time frame to schedule something out? Is it a year out? Is it to do your tax before you sell? I mean, a couple of months, or what's the ideal time if you're thinking about selling?
You want to at least 30 days minimum before the transaction.
Okay.
So we have 30 time to figure it out. At least a month before it happens. So if you're going to sell some investment property, what the plan is, let's figure it out and come up with options before it's, don't come to me 3 days before closing and say, oh my God,
Well, and also too, remember, if you're thinking about buying a property, right, next year, you might want to talk to your accountant. If you're working with Fred, then talk to Fred about, hey, I'm looking at buying next year. maybe let's hold back on all the depreciation and let's try to make the numbers look a little better so I can qualify for the purchase in the coming years. So I think that's a big thing that I think a lot of people could take away. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The depreciation is one of the things that we have some control on. So whether you take a lot or take a little bit, that whether you're trying to, save it for when you have a lot of deductions or qualify for a loan, at least we have some flexibility there. Perfect example.
Well, thank you guys for watching us. Please reach out with any kind of questions, and if you have time, even though it's tax season right now, Fred still is going to pick up his phone, and his team is going to help you out. Well, for the most part, for any of your kind of tax needs. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your Monday.
Thank you.